Hello everybody, welcome to the JPOD. My name's Jack.
And my name is Joe.
Lovely, don't sound like we're in a toaster this time. Okay, and we're here to review Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5? Episode 5,
Titled The Bells, yes.
Yes, okay, so may as well just get straight into it. We'll do some final thoughts at the end.
We are not going to give you the recap because if you're here, let's be honest, you've probably seen it, unless you're my mum. So, right, let's get on with it. Let's talk about Varys, first of all, because I love Varys. I love the whole politicking side of Game of Thrones, and he was like such a central, an integral piece to all of that. And now he's toast. He's toast. He's literal toast.
He's been barbecued. He's been absolutely barbecued, our Varys. It's a sad one to see. I know you in particular are a fan of his, a very big fan of his. But I think, given the direction of the show now, it's probably was time for him to go. And he went. I say he went leaving a legacy. You know, say if he distributed that letter that he was writing at the start, toward like maybe Lords of the Vale, Robin Arryn, New Prince of Dawn, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. His legacy is that he's still the Spider. He's still got his network of little kids running around, and I think it's a nice note to end on. To be fair,
it was brilliant.
Yeah,
and he was really nice to Martha, the little bird, and he was like, of course they're watching you. That's their job, and he had all these little
yes.
I'm glad he's not the Qyburn that Qyburn replaced him as Master of Whisperers, and he's nothing like Qyburn. He does want peace. He does want
not a dick.
These children to be safe in the end. At any cost, though, he wants peace. So maybe these children aren't so precious to him. But he seemed like a really decent fella, especially in these last few seasons when he's just been entirely on Team Dany. But now he's started to turn. No, I love him.
Rightly so. I think he's not blind like Jon is. Obviously for his loyalty to Dany, he's not.
No, he's
not
an honourable
to prove himself
fool.
like Tyrion.
Yeah,
it's good because it shows where that gets you if you cross Daenerys, and I think that especially for later on in the show, that will definitely play a part. That Varys he died being right.
Yeah.
I think that was important. Have you seen the fan theory that he was trying to kill by poisoning Dany?
He was trying to poison her.
So
because
he was trying to poison her,
because
right?
she's not eating.
So when is it Martha the little bit? Yeah. So she comes in and she's like, "They need you back in the kitchen." Or he's like, "They need you back in the kitchen."
Yeah.
That's because he's trying to poison her, and that's why she looks like she's seen a ghost in the next scene.
Well, do you know that is actually probably a viable theory, because he said he'd do anything for it. But I don't want to believe it. When he's dead, I don't want to spit on his grave and sort of say, yes, he was a poisoner. I don't think he was. I think it's more likely that he was just trying to get Jon to sort of take her position, because she was so depressed at the beginning of that episode that it's clear why he made the decision.
He's very much a pacifist in the same way that Littlefinger, but like he's more of a less violent version of Littlefinger, if that's the way to put it. He didn't try and have a little boy stabbed in his sleep. He didn't conspire to kill Joffrey. Do you know what I mean? And he really had. He died well. He died well.
He did.
I think it's fair to say, and he will be missed. But I'd say it's overdue, to be quite honest.
Yeah, he was. He became one of the sort of background characters that his only role in the show was just to give the occasional withering look or like the concerned face at Dany and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he will truly be missed. In the books, he is incredible. The way the narrator does his voice, he's incredible, and in the show, he is still incredible. But he's a character that
I think the actor that played him, which I'm just going to be really ignorant.
Conleth Hill.
What his name was? Conleth Hill. He's done a great job for a while.
Really good.
And the acting literally in the scene where he's Tyrion touches him, and we watched the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that's the first time Varys as a character has ever been touched.
Yeah.
And
in a loving gesture.
His face acting in particular is sublime.
Exactly.
He really captures the terror of Drogon looming over.
It was a scary scene. That's the scariest I've seen the dragons look, or a dragon look, in this show.
Yes.
The whole when they were kept in the pit in Marine, that was quite. When Tyrion went to visit them, that was quite eerie as well. But this was the worst. How he came looming over. Oh goodness, gave me chills.
It was great though. Yeah. It was great.
It's really good. Okay.
The best dragon, Drogon. Okay, so up next, let's have a look what happened next.
So what happened next was Tyrion talking to Daenerys, and there were a few scenes in the throne room, a few scenes in the map room about, if they ring the bells, call off the attack. There's no, if you basically the. Okay, just let's quickly address this because we didn't like the last episode. I said I liked it at the end. I said it was a thumbs up. You said it was a thumbs down. I only said it's a thumbs up just because I've now accepted how the show's going. I was looking through a bunch of reviews today just in preparation for this, and everyone is ripping into the show saying, oh, they've killed it. This is, 8 seasons of character arcs that have just been thrown out the window and 8 seasons of foreshadowing thrown out the window. But I don't think it is. I think people are overreacting just because it isn't as good as it used to be. It's still brilliant. And the episode when we watched it, we
still
loved
the
it.
greatest. I'm not going to shy away from this. I think it's my favourite episode of TV I've ever seen.
Episode 5.
Honestly. The bells, genuinely. It was
we had that reaction.
An absolute... Yeah, it was an absolute powerhouse. I mean, we watched it together and it's just that visceral reaction you can't take away. And you can step back and think, maybe, the Jaime and Cersei thing that we'll talk about later on is questionable. Yeah, perhaps it is. But honestly, in the moment, it was perfect. And I think that TV is there to be, as just a general, medium of entertainment, TV is there to be enjoyed in the moment itself. And I don't think if anyone didn't get excited by that episode, then I can't honestly, think that you're a proper fan of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you can't take a stand and say, "Oh, I hate the show," and I hate the show when you've given so much watch time to it, and you obviously love the show. You can't suddenly go. You're allowed to. Obviously, we have our opinions on it as well, but people who go, "Oh, they've killed Game of Thrones," they haven't. They haven't killed anything. This is their show, their writing.
We've killed half the cast.
Yeah, well, they have to. But I think I've now accepted where they're going with the whole Dany versus Jon, and you're turning up to watch a show which has now become. You'd hope that it wasn't predictable, but a lot of things you can predict actually happening because they've been so foreshadowed and so led up to. So I really like it. I really like the episode. I don't know why people are really sort of hating into it.
I don't understand it. I think it's the Jaime and Cersei thing, and we will talk about that. That's the only thing that I can honestly... I've heard people say, well, that was a disappointment, and when you're finishing that episode, the one thing that episode was not was a disappointment. But anyway, let's stop talking about the internet and actually review the show.
People are mad. So yes, let's talk about the show. So after that, you saw the whole sequence of Tyrion trying to persuade Dany to not attack, basically. And it felt like, we were talking before how he's just like a useless sort of dwarf these days.
He is.
In the season. But he actually, he seemed like he was, he was pulling back his power he had before. He had some sway over the Queen. I don't know when because she nods at Grey Worm and when he says, if you hear the bells ringing, call off the attack. And she nods. I'm not sure if she's nodding to say, get out of here, Grey Worm, go and do what I've told you to do, or agreeing to what he's saying. I hope it's the agreeing, even though she didn't end up agreeing. But that does sort of show that he did still have some power over her and power as the hand. I like that. He was very involved in this episode, I tell you.
Which in a good way, in a good way, and not the way that his blunders are what drives the plot. He actually had something constructive to do. And after that, it was Jon and Dany in the the war room.
The map room,
Yeah, and she wants to get it on, and he's basically like, no, he does not want that.
I don't think she actually does want to get it on, though, because because I think she was testing him because she said, well, obviously she does want to get on because they're deeply in love, sort of. But she said, people just fear me. And he said, oh, I love you. And then she went up to him to test him to see if he does love her. But not, obviously not in the way that she wanted. He couldn't return the kiss.
Not in the way that a nephew should love him.
Exactly. And so then she said, let it be fear then. I love that line. I thought the writing peaked.
Let it be fair is beautiful.
All of a sudden, the writing was like, whoa, oh, this is good writing again. Didn't last for long, but I'm not going to rip the show. I've told you, I've now decided I like it. So
this is a positive podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to make this a positive.
Let's be positive. The last one we ripped into a lot of people and a lot of things. So let's be a lot more positive this time. Obviously,
there is one person that we ripped into that meets his sweet end.
We're gonna get to that soon.
We will get to that. It is good. It is very good.
Death
Anyway, okay. So death is here. So I think the scene with John and Danny is important because obviously it shows later on in the episode she snaps, and John always remains level-headed, and he always has been. He's always been an honourable man. He's always been someone who will go out of his way to do the right thing, whereas she has shown time and time again that she'll do something. She's not adverse to using a shortcut or underhanded tactics. Like, obviously slavery is bad, but the whole crucifixion of the slavers
and burning the masters.
Really, yes, burning the masters. So it really shows that kind of difference between them. John's remained consistent, whereas she has flip-flopped in between. Yeah. They're both that side of the coin, whereas a Targaryen is mad or
Originally, I was really
great.
opposed to the whole she's the mad queen, but thinking about it, now that we've accepted how the show's going, it has been led up to. Like, with the burning of the masters, the crucifying, she has always had this dark side to her, which has made her an actual interesting character, unlike John, who I love to bits, but he is so bloody annoying. Like when they had the
he's
meeting,
stubborn. Yeah.
In the final episode of season.
In the Dragon and the Wolf.
Yeah, Dragon and the Wolf. When they when he refused to lie, basically, because he's so honourable, he has to. And he almost ruined all the chances. And in the end, she didn't come and help. But he's too honourable. Like Ned Stark. Rest in peace.
He is, and maybe that's what will get him killed. We'll find out.
We'll address it in theories.
We won't go into that, obviously, because we're only, a week away from that last episode. And speculation at this point is kind of pointless.
3 days.
I know,
and then Game of Thrones season 8 is over, and the show as we know it.
And we'll probably go back to reviewing every season since then for content.
We'll do it.
So, what do we have next? So we have Tyrion. Dany informs Tyrion that she's captured Jaime.
Mm-hmm.
As kind of a scare tactic, I'd say. Like, it's that
a threat.
Let it be fair. Yeah, it's like that. Let it be fair, type of thing. And she snaps straight into that. Literally, next scene. Sorry, she's going. Let it be fair. She's basically taken one of the people that is left in the world that he loves. And holding him hostage emotionally more than anything else. And I think that's fascinating, as I said, from Dany's point of view. But anyway, Tyrion and Jaime. This is some of the best acting I've seen from both men for a very, very long time.
Oh yeah, Peter Dinklage actually getting to show emotion in the show. It's very impressive.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
He's just being that
it really
useless
is.
little. I shouldn't say little, I'm so sorry, but he's just been the useless guy who stands in the corner and fails to change anyone's mind. But now, that's a story-changing moment.
He's not just a name.
He frees Jaime. He makes him promise to open the gates, to make Cersei open the gates, basically. And he's actively doing something in the show for once, which is so exciting and it's brilliant. But it did lead to his death, so I'm also not so happy about it on that sort of side of it, because I love Jaime. He's my favourite character, second favourite.
This scene in Isolation, mine too. This scene in Isolation was genuinely outstanding, though. It's levels of kind of the emotion that you see when Jaime's in the bath with Brienne.
Oh
when it's just that monologue of him saying, "Hey, I'm not a bad dude."
Why he killed the king,
and maybe Tyrion say, when he's about to kill Tywin, that's an absolutely amazing Peter Dinklage moment. And it's nice to see these two actually get to shine together for once. Like it's like that scene. Actually, I've just realised this. It's like that scene reversed when Tyrion's in prison waiting for his trial by combat.
Yeah, when Jaime frees him.
Yes.
Well, it's different because in that they end up fighting. There's no love there. Or am I getting that wrong? Is that just in the books? No.
I think it's just in the books. He does say to Bronn that he'll split him in half, but I think that's a bit of a throwaway line, more or less. Because obviously,
is this in the show? Because I haven't seen the old seasons for a while now. I didn't rewatch it all right before the show. I watched it about half a year ago. But because I've just got to that point in the books, he tells Jaime that yes, he did kill Joffrey, even though he didn't, and that he is the monster he thinks he is, and then he runs off and then kills Tywin. But in the show, he's just grateful, isn't he?
Yes,
okay.
He is, and Jaime.
In that case, it's the exact same. Yeah.
Jaime's sad about it. Don't get me wrong, and he's angry that he's killed his dad, obviously. Yeah. But it's not to the level of a ridiculous amount of animosity, where Bronn puts them together last season, in season 7, in about, is it episode 2 or 3? And she and them, sorry, both. They kind of hug it out, I'd say, with their words. There's not much animosity between them. They love each other a ridiculous amount, which is, as it's what they show in this scene. It's an amazing performance from both men. Honestly,
it is. It was the most touching part of this episode. I think. I really did feel for Cersei and Jaime at the end, even though it doesn't make entire sense. But we'll get to that in a second. But this was the brotherly love. When he said, "You're the only reason I survived my childhood," that was such a thing to say in the moment.
It was beautiful. It was honestly one of the nicest things that the show was. Obviously, we can't have nice things after that, but it was amazing. Because I think he's right. Tywin, if not for Jaime, would have killed him. I think it's fair to say as a child, and I think it is beautiful. Obviously, it doesn't lead to things that I'm not particularly happy about. I think it makes sense, but it does kind of lead to sad.
Very sad.
Sad. Very sad. And just quickly about this scene, I think one of the greatest strengths of this episode was its use of cinematography and lighting, and
fire
in this scene. Yes. We do love fire. In this scene, Jaime's got chiaroscuro lighting, so light on one side of his face and dark on the other, and it really just... I like how that's a parallel between him saying to Brienne, I am a bad man, whereas the audience kind of knows, no, Jaime, you're not a bad guy. But I like that. I thought it was a nice little technical touch.
They've nailed it this time. I don't know how much of a hand Miguel would have in that, but probably a fair bit.
You'd like to think so. You'd like to think so. Right, what do we have next?
So after he frees him, they go straight to the battle. They go straight to the outside of the walls, where they've peppered the walls with scorpions, which in this episode, absolute useless piles of garbage. But
which is strange, because if you're going to lay down the rules of scorpions are so deadly to dragons, I mean, why have them obliterated?
Have at least 300 of them just do nothing for one dragon.
Yes,
it's silly, but I think that is definitely how if Drogon died in this episode, that'd be a weird one. If all the dragons were gone, no,
yeah, it would be.
But
you need Drogon later on for obvious reasons.
Yeah. I did like this. The whole Night of the Seven Kingdoms was an entire episode built on tension for the long night.
Yes.
This one, the episode before, I didn't really feel like that. I didn't feel like that oncoming battle was going to be, this is going to be intense, just like the long night was. Just because we weren't sure what was going to happen.
Like, we knew really with the long like night, a battle.
It was going to be basically a defeat for the living. In this one, the army looks so puny. Dany, sort of led by Jon Grey Worm. It looks so pathetic outside the walls. And the Golden Company were there. They have all these scorpions on the walls. And the dragon, we were talking last week about how Yoram was just like lazy writing trick and just sweeping in and destroying everything. But the dragon, who has previously been taken out by spears from the Sons of Harpies, been taken out by a few dead guys crawling on it, all of a sudden swept past the entire Iron Fleet, swept past hundreds of scorpions on the walls, and just demolished the gates and this city and all the defences. I thought it was a bit over the top, and like all of a sudden Drogon has these superpowers. Maybe it's just because he was so furious. Maybe he channeled the energy of Balerion before him.
He's got
like
bigger
Aegon the Conqueror would have done, but honestly, that is the one part of it that obviously none of the shows are that realistic, but it wasn't realistic compared to what his ability has been before, and it sort of put me off it. I really loved these scenes of him flying through, and when he burst that gate, that's brilliant. We looked at the making of it.
Oh, that is absolutely excellent.
incredible.
That is in terms of like the build up for that, you mentioned tension there, and Night of the Seven Kingdoms just basically being a love letter to all the to all the kind of characters that we love, and this is probably going to be goodbye. Obviously, it turned out it wasn't going to be for any of them. But in terms of tension, obviously you said last episode didn't, deliver on that, but there's about a 5-minute sequence just before the Golden Company march out them gates in this, which is just build up and build up and build up. It's tracking shots of soldiers going up stairs. It's close up of ballistas being loaded, scorpions rather, being loaded, and I think that it made up for it. I'd say it made up for it.
Okay, I see what you mean there, but I'm gonna have to disagree. I didn't feel for it.
Okay.
I didn't feel for the city in any way, just because King's Landing has been this like scummy city. They almost raped Sansa, the peasants, because the common people have just been sort of portrayed as, King's Landing is the worst place to live in the Seven Kingdoms.
They're portrayed like wildlings almost.
They are.
It's
They're
very
always,
interesting.
if they don't have food, they suddenly become these rapists. Even when they do, they are a mob and they cheer for Ned Stark's death. I have no love for the city. That's why I think I'm probably we're some of the only people who like the outcome of the episode. Like I full on really hate what Daenerys did, but I'm actually quite happy King's Landing's gone, to be honest. Like, and most of the people.
Really?
I'm happy with genocide, Jack. I'm gonna say it.
Okay, that's right on.
No,
right
not
on
about
cue with
deaths.
your character.
Not about deaths. I'm just happy that, in general, that city is like one large, sprawling monster is now gone. Just because
it is
it's a horrible place.
Obliterated. As well, you see Jaime as well. Jaime, Arya, and the Hound making their way towards the Red Keep.
That was intense. Arya and the Hound, and
that
Jaime
was
trying to
very
get
good.
in when the doors are shut. When he goes, soldier, soldier. I like that.
Sure, yeah,
That
putting
is
up his
still
gold hand
intense,
because
yeah.
that's the only thing you can recognise him as. That's gorgeous. And there's the shot of him as well, walking through the streets of King's Landing, looking like some Episode 3 Anakin Skywalker.
Exactly, with his bloody
He's
cowl.
great. Yeah, and he's hunkered down, and he's on a mission. It is excellent. It is honestly excellent.
I want a Lego figure of that model of Jaime. That'd be amazing.
I didn't know you collected Lego.
And
And then we get a wide shot of the Golden Company, which is more of an establishing shot, really. And
with Harry
front and
Strickland.
centre, Harry Strickland, the world's greatest general, world's greatest sellsword general,
He's a mute.
coming over from Essos.
He's a mute. You'd think he'd rally his men somehow.
No, he talks in the previous episodes.
Okay, so he talked in one previous episode. He didn't say a single thing in this one. All you saw was his concerned face as he heard the wing beats of a dragon, him falling off his horse, and then him being impaled as he sort of runs away. Now, I was watching Great Review how it was...
So bad.
It was a comparison to Jon Snow standing up in the Battle of the Bastards with his sword drawn, sort of being... just facing the onwards charge of the Bolton army. In this one, it was Harry Strickland
the crane
charging
camera
away
shot.
from the Dothraki behind him. I like that, but that's a trick that this episode did. Good old Miguel, he was doing that all the time to us, putting us in the shoes of the defenders of the Lannisters and their side, and showing us, you know, they're no different from these heroes that you love.
They're people too.
You're just not attached to them, which is what Game of Thrones has always done best. The whole Cersei walk of shame. I'd never thought I could feel anything for that woman, but I did.
She does it again in this episode.
And she did it again in this episode, yeah.
Lena Headey is honestly, she's just such a manipulator of your emotions.
I'm going to miss her as Cersei, honestly. Like, in terms of villains,
same.
Ramsay Bolton was this twisted guy, Euron was a shit villain, but Cersei has been the greatest villain consistently in this show.
She has.
And I don't care for anyone who says they're on Team Cersei, she's a villain. Joffrey is equally up there. Tywin, I didn't really see him as a villain because
I loved watching him on screen.
Yeah, because I liked him. Charles Dance is so amazing, and his character is so sort of strong-willed, but he was such a unique character. You don't get anyone so stern in this show. Mm-hmm. Anyway, enough about the Lannisters.
Not so much anymore. He was one of a kind, was he not? Okay, and then after Harry, it's not after Harry, it's just before Harry gets impaled by Grey Worm, the whole of the Iron Fleet gets obliterated.
This is another thing. Talking about last week's ripping into Euron. His Iron Fleet were unstoppable in every single scene he's had them in so far, and in this one, despite how many ships are out there? Over 100? You say probably over 100.
Yeah. And having one less dragon than she did
one less dragon,
time.
So it's not even there are two flying and there are multiple targets. There's one target. Fair enough, it came in from up above in the sun, so it flew the sun behind it so it couldn't be seen. But surely, with it swooping up and down, burning only a few of the Iron Fleet, it would still get hit. And then it flies directly at the walls, still manages to evade all the scorpions. So anyway, back to Euron. I was so happy when he got knocked off his ship, and I was so unhappy when he crawled up on that beach.
Died.
Yeah.
We thought he might have died.
I thought that'd be what he deserves, an off-camera death.
I think what Game of Thrones does really strongly in these action episodes, and I think it's probably just Miguel, to be quite honest with you, but his decision to have a continuous shot on one character. So you see Jon in the Battle of the Bastards in that really gritty scene where he's just slicing Bolton.
Where he takes a guy off a horse, and yeah.
They do it with Euron here. It's smaller. It's only about a minute long, but it's him ordering people to fire the scorpion, and he does it with Jon as well later on. And I think it is so effective, and it really puts you in. It's very immersive.
Oh, immersive is the word. Yeah.
Yes.
You're sort of watching him. It's almost like you're one of the soldiers he's ordering about. You're sort of standing there helplessly. It's wonderful.
Yes, because the angle of it as well. You see him literally just from the back of his head. It's pretty much
you're on a level with him.
It's a mid-tracking shot. It's a beautiful. It's
really
a beautiful way to use a camera. And then Drogon basically flies towards the wall, rips King's Landing's battlements to shreds, more or less. Harry gets impaled, as we've already talked about. The Golden Company, very quickly, are they a disappointment? Yes or no?
Big yes. I didn't see a single soldier fight, to be honest.
They didn't get a kill.
Maybe I wasn't looking, but they killed, with the walls, they probably killed a quarter of them. The rest of them seem to be fleeing. At one point, I think Drogon did swoop down and burn some more of the runners, but they were really crap. I mean, screw elephants.
To be fair, right?
They couldn't get the elephants over the sea. They couldn't do anything with even... Oh, it's so annoying.
What were they supposed to do against Drogon? I understand that, but I think I would have liked to see them slaughter a few Dothraki before Dany turned up. Maybe pillage one of the camps in the previous episode. That'd be quite cool. And just kill a few people in their sleep, have a bit of a skirmish there.
Well, throughout the episode, we were saying, imagine if it's Dario. Imagine if it's Dario and Harry. Imagine if it's Dario.
Syrio Farrell is that white horse.
Syrio Farrell will pop out. Syrio Farrell is the horse. Looking actually at, I know Harry Strickland's horse died, but looking at this picture of Harry Strickland's horse, looks very much like the pale horse that Arya rides out, which people have gone mad about. Just having a look now. It looks very similar, to be honest. But I'm pretty sure
that
the
horse has been
killed.
squashed.
Yeah. because he falls off it, and I think you see it sort of crippled on the floor. Anyway, just a little quick thing. Talking about Syria for hell possibly being a horse. Yeah, it's insane. I think
it's great.
It was an epic battle. We were looking at the making of it, and they built this entire street of King's Landing based on the real one in Croatia, and it was such...
Dubrovnik.
Yeah, Dubrovnik. It was such an intense scene and series of scenes set in this city, which I hate just because so many of my favourite characters have died here. But it was majestic. It was everything I could have asked for from this final battle. And when I knew that Daenerys was going to go mad, when you saw her, after the bells are ringing, you saw her face, and that is some of the best acting from Emilia Clarke has given us as well.
It is, yeah.
I loved it.
She gets a lot of flack, especially from me.
And then the best part was, we were talking about overexposure for her. Amazing. After we saw that facial expression from her when she sat on the wall, and then she burns him anyway, you never saw her again, which is brilliant. It's exactly what you want. You need it to be this black dread in the sky. You don't need constant shots of her going, I'm so conflicted. But it was perfect. It's perfect. It's exactly excellent. Miguel Sapochnik. If it was on him, it's probably on him. That's why the episode was so brilliant. But like, either the writing's amazing, suddenly it's gone boom like that, or he's made the best. Like, he's done a really good job with this terrible writing we've had for most of the season. So
yeah. It's not great, is it?
It's not great. It's not terrible.
He hasn't had a dud episode. He hasn't had a bad episode.
Oh, no, he hasn't.
I think this is a great note to go out on for Miguel himself. I think it's brilliant. Just what do you think about the battle as a whole? Because obviously I wouldn't call it a battle. I'd call it more of a pillage. It's more of a slaughter.
The sack of King's Landing. Yeah.
That is what it's like. It is, and us being Crusade nerds...
We have a text channel on this Discord called the Siege of Antioch. Continue.
We do, that is true. Us being Crusade nerds, we obviously drew parallels to, Siege of Jerusalem, where they just sacked everything, killed everyone. Siege of Jerusalem, you could have the sacking of Constantinople as well. It screamed of that. And I think if you're looking for a tone... It's got that kind of tone of a historical travesty.
Oh yeah.
Like the sound, the screams, even when Jon goes, muffled later on, it's really this honourable man has realised what the horrors of war. Like, this is dreadful.
Oh yeah.
This is honestly, they do a great job of capturing that. I think
they
the
did.
Fire, the burning costume. They set 22 real life people on fire for this episode.
I think there's even more. They did 22 at once, and then there's even more for the rest of the episode. There's a guy falling off the building on fire.
Honestly, real dedication.
It's amazing. But the only thing is, so it's quite hard not to judge the Northmen, because they did start to rape and pillage just like all of the villains we've seen do, like the Mountain's Men and the Bloody Mummers, all of those. It's just exactly the same as what we've seen with them. But, to be fair, I have never pillaged a city, be it medieval or modern. So I don't know, because they say all about bloodlust, and once you fight and once you get into that sort of mindset of, these are our enemy, it takes over. So I haven't experienced this bloodlust. I don't know about you, Jack. You pillaged a few cities, I remember you telling me. But
yeah, fair few.
Every now and then. If you judge these men, you have to judge all of mankind, in this show at least, on their actions, because we've seen it from every single invading army. And now, when Robert Baratheon took the city in just way before the show even started, 20 years before the first episode, the exact same thing happened to King's Landing here. It didn't burn so much, but people were raped, people were killed, people were sort of stolen, and their goods everything was taken from them. So the exact same thing is happening, but because of the fire, it's forced to stop. That's how bad she's burning the city.
Yes.
The dragon's flames quench like this bloodlust, and Jon has to tell them all to retreat. So
yeah, she's some way like kind of rewritten history in that way.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've seen, like, as you said, the first sacking of King's Landing with Robert, and I think it's symptomatic of Game of Thrones as a show being about individuals rather than groups of people.
Yeah.
obviously in Essos there's strong like racial connotations, but if you're gonna look at it this way, you can't. It's that of you can't judge the actions of a father of a son by his fathers. I'm butchering that, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Just because John is this honourable man does not mean his followers will be, and it's about individuals. It's not about the people as a whole.
Exactly.
And I think that is one of its biggest strengths. I think it really captures that.
Mm-hmm. Now another thing, it's not just the bloodlust because so many of these people have had the exact same thing happen to their own lands, and the Lannisters set the mountain across the Riverlands and then up into the north to burn everything, and the Iron Men have sacked. So they've had so much. They've taken so much shit, and now it's their turn to give it back. I think that's probably where most of the hatred is coming from. Like, these people are all innocent, as we see in that long build up to the attack.
Yeah.
They're just people, scared people, basically, and it focuses on the woman and her daughter who end up rescuing Arya briefly. Like, she is like a symbol of purity in this crowd of people who are still quite filthy and King's Landers, so they're going to be quite just grim because it's a pretty corrupt city. But
yeah,
I really liked how they focused on that. They focused on everyone's bad.
I did
Everyone's
like I did like the
chance.
mother-daughter thing. It was very much like Carsey at Hardhome, if you remember her. She
Yeah.
she was that one woman that said, "Don't worry, you get on that boat, I'll meet you there."
Mm-hmm. And she got mauled by the kids.
She got oh yeah, and a load of zombie children absolutely mauled her. And then she came back as a White Walker as her children watched. And I think that if you focus in on randos like that Game of Thrones does so often, it really captures, these are ordinary people just like you and I. It's not the Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons. It's not the King in the North. It's not the Lion, Jaime Lannister.
Yeah.
It's a regular peasant woman who has been trapped in between these horrors of war that have been caused by these people, these influential people.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting way to go about your, to be quite honest, ridiculously popular show.
Yeah.
Like, it's a strange way, like, not focusing on, your stars.
Yeah, well, that's what Miguel SAPOCHNIK said. Remember, we were watching and he said, he basically said, I don't care for the fans. I'm making the episode as I see it, as I think it'll be good. If people have...
That's how I think it should be done.
Yeah,
I think that's correct.
It should be the show shouldn't be engineered to please. It should be, obviously, there's a little bit of that because they need people to come and watch, but the show, in the end, is a fantasy show. And for some reason, the entire world, people who wouldn't class themselves as sort of fantasy readers or fantasy watchers watch the show because it's such a global phenomenon. They just watch it because it's great. It's amazing characters, amazing writing. Maybe not so amazing recently, but I think that's partly why it isn't so amazing because it's now become such a popular thing that they're producing the show for the masses. It's no longer a show just for people who've read the books. Obviously, it never was, but it's no longer a show for people who are into that kind of thing. It's a show for hundreds and thousands of different types of people who are going to, they're going to like it, they're not going to like it. This episode,
there's no
it's got
niche
loads of shit, but
anymore,
we liked it. No, yeah, there's no niche at all left in any viewership, I think, just because... there are so many bloody people in the world to watch things like this.
And it's that water cooler effect. It's that of you're going to work the next day or you go to, wherever, college, university. Did you see Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
And they make it so much easier for people that aren't necessarily, critics or, fans of the books to be like, yeah, I enjoyed this. And then they can formulate an opinion on it.
That's what the season's become. This season has become a people pleaser. But in doing that, they haven't pleased the people. They've just sort of pissed people off. Yeah, I don't want to chat shit because we did a lot of that in the last one. But as we said, the season isn't where we wanted it to go, but it's something that we're now happy with because it's a story I'll still watch. And Dan Weiss and David Benioff. There we go. They could write anything, and I'd sit down and watch it. They could write, the worst thing in the world, but just because their worst writing is still way better than most writers out there, I will still watch it.
Down, just different, yeah.
They're
Anyone
incredible.
else now in Hollywood? I think it's the standard that's got people. Yes, sure, the standards dropped or whatever, but you honestly can't turn around and say it's the worst thing on television. It is still by far and away the greatest TV.
Oh no, I don't think anything will ever top this show.
Today.
And I'm sure I've said that about every other show I've ever watched, but I don't think anything will ever beat this.
No, I love Peaky Blinders, but it doesn't anywhere near, touch this. The level of character development, sure, there might be like one or two characters really fleshed out and developed, but Jesus Christ, the depth of Game of Thrones, it can't be understated. It's absurd.
All right, so I think we're in agreement about that. The show is still brilliant. Now that we know where it's going, there's going to be the whole Danny John Bowl. I don't mind. I like it, and I'm going to watch it. And I'm not going to... I was reading a Telegraph review, and I've never seen anyone rant in such a harsh way about anything. They were tearing into the show.
They're about as qualified as us to review this.
Exactly. I think the only people who should be able to review this show are the cast members, because they know the characters the best, and George R. R. Martin himself. I think everyone else should shut up and watch it. Okay. I'm talking to myself there.
Doing a podcast
I'm talking to
about
myself there, Jack. All right, let's move on. Right. We need to get into some more things, some more very important things this episode failed to do or succeeded in. So, first of all...
I want to talk about what it succeeded in more
let's
than anything. So,
we
the
can
spectacle.
make little hints.
Let's just have a look at the spectacle of it. So, the gore, first of all. The special effects. Someone gets beheaded, Joe. Joe, someone gets beheaded in this.
Well, she's not. It's a Catelyn Stark sort of death, isn't it? It's a throat cutting.
No! Someone gets the head taken clean off.
Oh shit!
It's brutal. Someone gets split down the middle like the Hound did.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Not the Hound, like Beric did by the Hound. People are burning. It's grim. And I think that might turn a lot of this casual audience off that we're talking about, but it is exceptional.
Oh, it's exceptional gore,
honestly. Yeah. It's amazing. And you talk about, the CGI on the dragon, they've been knocked, for the bad CGI. Drogon in this, perfect.
No, yeah.
Absolutely
I couldn't complain at all about the effects in this. No, this one's been really good.
See,
the gore, as well, it's realistic. It's, they're not watering it down for this new viewership. They're not giving you like a sack is pretty bad. They're showing you everything, and that is why I really like the episode, just because they don't hold back. It's true Game of Thrones in a way.
It's not Disney, is it?
No, it's not Disney. And I'm so sick of shows cutting away or giving the sort of hinting at, he was just beheaded, and you just see like a head rolling or something. You see everything, and it's disgusting. It's like vile how the characters just like are ripping the city apart, and it's true.
It's one of this episode's themes is the horror of war, and I think that's something that really comes through. Yeah, it's great.
I loved you were talking before about the tracking shots of characters.
Yes.
The whole sequence of Arya retreating from this burning city, sort of falling from rubble, pushing away from one way and then falling into the other. It was excellent. It was very similar to
great use of her. Yeah.
Oh yeah. They nailed her, because she's been her whole journey down to King's Landing just for her to turn around. I thought that's a bit weak, but I can see why they did it now, just because they needed someone to focus around who wasn't just this rando civilian who we didn't really care that much for. But in the end, we did, actually. In the end, we did quite a bit.
It turns out to be the Night King Slayer, Stark. And I'm glad that she didn't get defeated by a pile of rubble in the end, because that would have been underwhelming, would it not?
Well, when the bell tower fell, I was saying to you, she's in the bell, and she's trapped, and that's how Arya will die. Just trapped in this
she's going to be
bell.
she's going to starve inside this
and
bell.
she's like hammering on this bell going, let me out, and no one hears her. And I was like, oh my God, that would be dark. But luckily she wasn't. She'd managed to fall into some sort of cellar with all these other women. It was very lucky. again,
staying with spectacle, can we talk about, because we're probably going to forget about it this week because there was so much, can we please talk about Clegane Bowl?
First of all,
Because that
can we talk
happened.
about the Dane Bowl? Because the Dane Bowl happened first. Jamie versus...
Sure, Dane Bowl.
Jamie versus Euron. Can I just first of all say, I'm so glad Euron is dead. And that's all I'm going to say about him, because
we were going to start this podcast with shouting Euron
with cheering,
is dead.
but I felt bad
Yes.
because the actor who plays Euron, he did his best. Okay, so...
He did his best with what he was given.
That was desperate. That was a desperate fight. It was one of the best one-on-one brawls I've seen, because Euron isn't a sword fighter. He uses an axe, I believe, and he has that dagger. And the way he swam back just to fight Jamie, or just to, basically go and grab Cersei so he could keep doing what he was doing. It was so desperate between them, and he's sort of taunting Jamie. Jamie turns and attacks him. They fight. Jamie gets stabbed. Oh my goodness. My heart was in my mouth.
Twice. Oh god, that was...
And then
it wasn't necessarily the... Yeah, go ahead.
It pins him to the boulder. I was so happy. I've never been happy with the show. They got him. They got Euron. And
it's the best Euron's been.
They pitted Euron versus Jamie, so my least favourite character, versus my favourite, or one of my favourite characters.
Yeah.
It was like the emotions were high. The adrenaline was high. It's perfect.
They did a good job. It was a good pair, and I think having Euron say, "I'm the man that killed Jaime Lannister," is perfect, because Euron is a fool.
Yeah, the character they've given him in the show is just like that. It's exactly what, like, he's happy to die as long as he's killed. It's such a foolish way to do it, and I'm a dragon slayer. That again, it's just so, it's the cocky Euron that the show is focused on, which I'm not too happy with, as you can probably tell, but it works for the way the show's gone. So yeah, I'm glad he ended that way, and that was his final line. And you didn't actually see him sort of die. You just see him lay out here on this rock, and this rocky, gravelly
Watch him
beach.
turn up next episode.
I swear to God, if he is Syrio Forel, I'm gonna flip.
I did like how he went. He died a fool, and I think that the show has to concede. I think the performance hasn't been particularly bad. It's more the content of it. I mean, he's not necessarily... He's always... Euron's doing... I think we mentioned this last episode, last time we did this podcast. Euron's always, do there while something happens, or like, oh, we need someone to go get the Golden Company. Euron will do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kill Rhaegal. Euron will do it. Yeah, I think it was great, and I'm glad Jamie didn't go there, because I would have been furious if he did.
Yeah, it would have been if Jamie was killed by Euron. I wouldn't have watched the final episode. Oh goodness.
But credit to Euron or the actor that plays Euron for doing the best that he could do. But it's safe to say,
I think, given the writing, it's not on him.
It's
the way the character's been written for the show.
Introduced too late as well. I think.
That's far too late. But they couldn't have. Him being introduced alongside Ramsay would have really undermined Ramsay. So yeah, no, I'm glad he was put in here. But it's just a shame that it's been such a short season, and the last one was a bit shorter as well. A 10 episode Game of Thrones season 8 was what we needed, but well, we didn't get it.
I would have loved that.
Let's talk
positivity
about,
though. Come on, positivity.
Yeah, positivity. On the subject of positivity, Clegane Bowl, best part of the episode. Best part.
Hands down. You see the mountain looming in this background, in the background of Cersei's shots, when she's surveying King's Landing, watching all the wildfire caches go up, which was a lovely touch. Like watching, the site of the sept, because you can actually see the sept's ruin. Watching it, which is great, and it cuts back to Lena Headey doing her face acting as she always does, and just this ominous shadow of like an 8-foot monster.
I know, right? And he's done that a lot.
It's beautiful. It is amazing. And so the fight itself, the precursor to it is him just picking Qyburn up by the neck and
hammering him against a brick and then throwing him down again, and his skull just explodes. Oh my goodness!
It's glorious. It is glorious. Qyburn's dead. Happy about that?
Sort of. I like Qyburn. I like him because he saved Jaime's arm, and he bandaged up the hand. I like him because he's been a nice little, because he's so sinister. Like, he is a little creep.
He is.
With his experiments, and not to be the book nerd I am, but he is like he's so vile in the books, and he's a proper necromancer. Or not even a necromancer. Like he asks Cersei if he can have the women that have like some of her some of her like maids are given to him to experiment on because he wants live bodied. It's dodgy, and in this he really channels a lot of that. Like he's not as dark as he is in the books, but he's still this like brilliant sort of twisted maester. I love that. I really like him, and I am sad in a way to see him go, but it was a brilliant way to end him. Have him killed by his creation.
He served his purpose. That's beautiful.
It's a Frankenstein moment that we all loved.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely excellent.
And then the actual fight itself, watching the Mountain strip off his armour, or Robert Strong. He's not actually the Mountain officially. He's called Robert Strong, this new member of the Kingsguard, because the Mountain is officially meant to be dead, because they shipped off the Mountain's head to Dorne to appease whoever the Dornish king was at the time. So I'm pretty sure that that's the same in the show. It's the same sort of idea, at least. So he's called Robert Strong, but he's the Mountain as we know him, and he's so bloody twisted. Did you see the poison all the way up his side? I until I watched it a second time, I didn't focus on that. But he's so bloody twisted. Like his face is all gone.
He looked like a mouldy Varys.
He did.
Terrifying.
We sort of put it
I
off
liked as well, in terms of the hype of it, is it 3 or 4 Kingsguard?
Run down 8, because 4 of them get killed by rubble, and the other 4 get killed by the Hound.
And they run down to try and kill the Hound, and Sandor just makes sushi out of them. It is beautiful, it's that thing of remember the Hound is top 3 fighters in this show.
Yeah,
he is a he's just a masterful swordsman, and they stare down at this gorgeous shot of the dragon flying above the sun rays coming through, low angle as well, really gets a sense of the sheer scale of them two. It's perfect.
And then the action between it, we were watching the making of, and they actually got the actor who plays the Mountain, or Robert Strong, to just throw the Hound around like over and over again into walls, just back, and he's there like sort of almost being sick, and it looks so good. It's one of the I think it is probably the best one-on-one fight we've seen, and the most anticipated.
It's up there with the Hound and Brienne. For visceral, it's just brutal.
Yeah.
Especially like you've got the greatest hits in there as well, like the Oberyn thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they brought that back. And the Mountain doesn't even draw his sword for.
It was wonderful because the Hound's harrying him, and he's not got his sword out. And then when he does, he slices through a boulder, like a piece of rubble. His sword goes straight through it. It's madness. It was so like it was the exact amount of exaggerated strength that we needed. Like sometimes it's too much with the Mountain, but he was so good in this. Like, by too much, I mean when he chopped the horse in half. In the very, I think it's not the first. It's in the first season.
It's the tourney of the hand, isn't it?
Yeah, the hand.
And he beheads Loras Tyrell's horse, doesn't he?
No, he beheads his own horse.
It's his own horse.
Yeah.
What a
He's such an idiot.
What a man!
But
it's so good. There's also a shot of them two meeting their broadswords, and it's just this clang.
The dust flies off.
And it cuts to the next scene of Cersei, and the whole palace is just quaking around them. And it's like it gives you it's that kind of shape match or sound match of.
They've created the earthquake.
They're doing more damage than Drogon. It's perfect. I think. How about how it ended? How did you feel about that?
So
about it
into fire. I thought it's perfect. The Hound's greatest fear is fire. But a fear that is even, the thing he hates the most is fire, but the only thing he hates more than that is the person who put that fear there. I love that so much, that he was willing to push him out into this inferno just because he's just this insane brother who's like tortured him all his life and gave him that horrific injury when he was young. It was such a fitting way for them to end. The one bit I didn't like is how invincible Robert Strong was, like dagger through the eye.
If you're gonna kill him anyway, you may as well. That's all I'm thinking, is that you may as well put it through the eye, be like, alright, there's no way he's going down. Because you said it was perfect the way that he speared him pretty much into flames. It is perfect, and I think it was amplified by this is the only thing that he can do.
Exactly, yeah. This guy is actually invincible, and he needs to be pushed into Dragonfire, which is... It's a very, very fitting way to go, yeah. But I love the chest, not chestless, the bare-chested mountain just taking all these sword hits, in all sorts of in terrible places. Like, he gets a sword right through him. He's fine. He was just like this unfeeling mountain, basically. It's just his mountain. He was an inanimate object that every now and then swung a sword about and broke a rock. It's great. I think what I do kind of like about it as well, for the fire thing, how Sandor finally overcame his fear of fire. Yeah. It gives Beric and Thoros purpose. Oh, exactly.
I think that can't really be understated, because they're kind of not dwelled on as much in the show as they should be. But I think it's nice that they died with a reason. As Melisandre said, he served his purpose, Beric, and I think he served his purpose for Arya to kill the Night King, and he served his purpose for the Hound to defeat his one true fear.
The Hound served his purpose, which is like his ultimate objective. His super objective has just been to kill the Mountain for the past few seasons, because he hates him so deeply. Now, another thing about the Clegane Bowl before we move on, there's a scene when the Hound and Arya are still together. I think it's season 4. Yeah. And she says, "One day I'm gonna put a dagger right through your eye," and he puts a dagger right through the Mountain's eye.
Oh, I didn't even realize.
I watched a video about that today, and I thought it was brilliant. Little callbacks to the show like that are so perfect. That's why I think that's probably entirely Miguel. I'm just gonna say it now. It was definitely Miguel. Miguel has been our savior.
But yeah, it's still definitely the worst thing on TV, and it's worth complaining about after that. Yeah, no, it's worse. let's move on, because
I'm
gonna stop slating people for that now.
Good on you, man. Good on.
Okay,
we're almost on an hour, so let's talk about.
We've been going for quite a while.
Cersei and Jaime.
Jaime and Cersei.
Yeah.
Jaime and Cersei. Yeah. I was thinking exactly the same thing.
My first question to you, Jack, is: do you think that this whole story of Jaime trying to break free of her has been undermined, and they've sort of wasted his character development, or do you think that all along he has loved Cersei and he was just trying to convince himself otherwise, but it wasn't the case? He tried it with Brienne, and that is why he went back, because he knows that she's the only woman he can love, Cersei. Tell me what you think about that. The latter.
Probably, because that I thought, when he left Brienne, I thought he's betrayed his whole arc there. They've just undone probably the greatest.
We didn't like that bit.
I am so confident in saying this is the greatest written character in all of television or film. It's perfect.
I am very much along the same lines as that. Yeah, his arc in this show
is amazing.
Has he's redeemed himself so much from the man who at the very end of the first episode pushes a boy out of the window to a man that I cried over dying.
We both shed a tear at the Hound and Jaime, did we not? I think it's people. I know people will say it's wrong. They should have killed each other. Nowhere as the show, apart from the Valonqar prophecy, which is not really dwelled on that much.
No.
Never has the show actually hinted at that, or even shown Jaime as wanting to kill her. He just needs to be rid of her. But he can't be, and I think the metaphor of them being down, in the very dimly lit dungeons with all the Targaryen dragons, and the rubble being there, he can't get through it. I think it's a metaphor of their love is always going to end badly, and it's never going to go anywhere because of the nature of it.
Because it's
their brother and sister.
Yeah. And that is
brother and sister,
the whole thing
and
about...
because she is evil and he is good.
The one thing I love about this show is that they've stuck to the books, and the seven, as in the seven gods who are all different aspects of the same god, they have no power in the show. It's just like the real god in real life, who debatably, we're going to scare away our Christian audiences here, but debatably doesn't exist and has no power and there's no proof
we
of
already
him.
did with the sack of Jerusalem.
Which we agreed was epic. Anyway, in this, there's no way out. He's trapped. But so the seven have no influence on the show at all. You never see them bring people back to life. You never see them. It's like beads of light in the sky. But throughout the books, there are thousands of peasant characters you just meet randomly who say, "Oh, the gods frown upon kingslaying. The gods frown upon incest." They say it in the show as well, and it's perfect because in every case of inbreeding or kingslaying, stuff like that, characters have been punished, like massively.
Yes.
And these two end in a terrible, terrible way. Imagine being smothered like that under bricks and having your palace burn down around you. Obviously, that's what Jamie is trying to distract you when he says, "Look at me, look me in the eyes, look at me."
Yeah,
nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
That is
I think it's
beautiful writing.
Yeah. It's always been that way, and I know people are gonna say, "No, he loves Brienne." He doesn't. He tried it with Brienne. Maybe he did. I'm not gonna say he didn't love Brienne because of course he wouldn't have done that. But maybe being with Brienne really made him realise that Cersei's the only one. The story started together, and it ended together, and it felt I didn't. If you'd have told me this last week, this is how they're gonna go, I would have been fuming. I would have been furious.
Yeah.
But when it happened, I think you'll agree with me. It just felt right.
The "nothing else matters" line. As soon as he said that, I knew that that I loved the ending for them. I knew that people so my brother Tom, bless him, he hated that episode, and I don't know why, because we thought it was one of the best.
It's perfect.
I preferred out of this season. I think Night of Seven Kingdoms is my favourite still, just because of so many great moments. The Long Night was amazing. Yeah. This and The Long Night I think are on par. If not, this is a little higher. Yeah. It was just, every moment was so well thought out and well planned, and the writing was good in. Jon, for once, didn't feel useless. Dany has stopped just being this moody queen who may or may not. She's finally snapped. That's perfect. Tyrion had a role to play. Back to Jon and his honor, and finally, he's looking around him and seeing, how much shit that his men are causing in the city, and he can make a difference. He can stop people. He killed one of his own men. That was a moment. But
that was a great moment.
Yeah, I just think every character has finally come into their own, and the way these two have ended. The only thing I feel a little bit sad about is Cersei. She didn't get much screen time, and
wasn't
much
used as well as she could.
Yeah, much anything in this season. She's been brilliant throughout the show, and this season she felt like she was just sort of standing there drinking and doing a great facial acting. But if that's all you get of that, it's overexposure just to the facial acting.
I think she was in it for like
40
minutes of the season tops. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
It is a shame, and Lena Headey is great, but the end. That's the one thing that they should have done better. They should have done, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's the greatest, because it is the greatest episode of TV I think I've ever seen. In isolation,
You really liked it. I'm up there. I adored it. But it's your favourite.
I adored it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think they've ever done. This and Blackwater is probably.
Yes.
I think that's fair.
I do.
But no, they should have used Lena Headey better, but more. Not necessarily better, but more, because what she did have was great.
Oh yeah.
Like what she did with what she was given.
That's why I feel bad for her, because she could have given us so much more. Who knows? They had an off-screen death. You didn't actually see him die. So who knows? Might come back. We've got one episode left. No. Okay, let's talk about. I just want to talk about the Pale Horse. And the very end of the episode, and then we'll go into theories, and then we'll finito. So, Arya being the only survivor of the firebombing of Dresden, I mean the dragon burning of King's Landing, she has the plot armor. She definitely has the plot armor. You know, everyone else who hid behind stone was still a blackened corpse after that fire breathing, but she remained just a little bit with a little bit of dust on her and a little bit of a bloody face. I didn't really get that, but anyway, I'm glad she's alive, obviously, and I really
good makeup though. Really, really good use of costume.
Brilliant makeup. But there was one moment when the mother's fallen down. I think she's been raked by like an Arak, one of the Dothraki rode past.
Yeah.
And she's trying to pick her up. There's a screenshot of it here in front of us, and it's like the mother, Arya, and the daughter. The daughter's holding this pale horse, and the daughter, she goes, take my child, and Arya's taking her away, and the child screams at her, no, and runs back. That broke my heart. Like, I was in pieces by the end of that. Just this kid. What? First of all, whoever that child is, that is the best child acting I've ever seen. And second of all,
I think the girl in Logan's probably.
Oh no, yeah, she is amazing. But no,
she's
just in terms of.
It's not a Logan review. We can do that next week.
Yeah, we'll do Logan at some point. I love that entire sequence, like I said, of her being sort of pummeled by the crowds, and then she's escaping, ducking between alleys and collapsing rubble, and a bell almost falls on her, and then she survives a firebombing. But I loved all that. And what did you think?
I think this is the most technically strong part of the episode. I think the use of lighting is contrapuntal with the fire to the orange fire to the white ash.
Yeah.
I think it's a great juxtaposition of colour. It makes it pop a lot more. It gives you more of an idea of the dread. I think the symbolism of the ashes is genuinely perfect, because you see the ashes and you can mistake them for snow in that original establishing shot, you know, when Jaime and Cersei have just packed it in.
Oh yeah.
And it comes back down to Arya.
It's funny you say that about snow. Sorry, just to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know when Daenerys has her vision of, I think it's the what are they called? The warlocks in Karth.
The House of the Undying.
The House of the Undying. She has a vision in the House of Undying, and she sees the throne room with the Iron Throne, with the ceiling cracked in, it looks a bit burnt, and there is snow falling from the ceiling, where everyone thought it was snow, but it looks exactly like ash. So the prophecy is true. I love that. Okay.
It's great because
great little detail. Yeah.
I think as well, you can, if you're gonna do it if you're gonna think of it as snow, you think of winter was defeated. And you thought the Night King was the big bad, but no, winter has come.
Exactly.
And it's Daenerys.
Exactly.
Daenerys has brought it. Also, very quickly, because I have to mention this, that shot of Arya when she's looking to the horse, and it is a wide shot with her in front of an alleyway.
Mm-hmm, the light's just beaming down around.
Yeah, there's a pop of a light beam, and she looks like angelic.
Oh,
it's
fully.
Fully.
And it's like Gandalf summoning Shadowfax.
Thing I've ever seen.
That white.
It's better.
It's brilliant.
It's the most beautiful shot I think they've ever done in the whole show. It is.
I'm gonna pretty much agree with you.
I'm passionate about that.
It was wonderful, James.
Go on, Pale Horse. You wanted to say something
Pale
about
Horse.
Pale Horse.
There are lots of stories about this. I've been doing a little bit of reading it. People are like, where did the horse come from? First of all, I didn't spot it to begin
Harry
with.
Strickland.
But yeah, that's my first theory. It's Harry Strickland's horse, but I think it died. Second of all, the little girl is holding a little white horse. Did you see that when we were watching it?
Let me have a look. No, I'm not sure. See if I can find it. But yeah, continue.
So this little girl is holding a pale horse, and then a pale horse comes to save her. Really odd. Anyway, I don't actually know what that means, to be honest. I'm gonna have a good think about it, and I'll get back to you on our final review, the final episode. But
well, she is death, right?
Yeah. So the entire thing, pale horses in mythology and sort of writing have either heralded the pale horse's death, or sometimes they do mean good things, like they're sort of angelic. They stand for hope and heaven, and it was a horse of hope in that moment, I think.
Yes.
And also it was the pale horse of death, because she, I believe, is going to be the one to kill Daenerys, or she's going to try to kill Daenerys.
Yeah.
Now, I did say that Jaime was going to try and kill Cersei last episode, so we'll see how that pans out. But the show has captured me again. We said so many terrible things about the show last week. this week, I only really have good things to say, apart from a couple of moments. But this episode was amazing, and they've recovered it in my eyes, and I don't really mind that that's where the show's gone now. I was a bit upset about it, but now it's good TV again.
It's obscenely good TV. I think it's just a testament to the writers, and especially I think it's Miguel. We'll mention him a lot.
Miguel SAPOCHNIK.
He's never Mrs. Miguel SAPOCHNIK. It's a big Sapo. He's not done a bad episode. His direction is flawless. I think it is one of my favorite episodes. Where does it rank for you in terms of?
Okay, so out of this season.
Strength. Let's go season and then do all time.
Okay, so out of the season, it is top 3.
Top 3.
Not 1, maybe joint second. Possibly third. And then out of everything, it's 4th, I think, after A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Battle of the Bastards, and The Winds of Winter is up there with them as well as sort of Blackwater mixed in there. The Hard
Lion and the Rose.
Lion and the Rose is up there. To be honest, there are so many good episodes that I can't really choose an order for them. I just have
Watches
so
on
many
the Wall as well.
Yeah, Watches on the Wall. Night of Seven Kingdoms is definitely my favourite, but this has done the job of... It's exactly what you want for a penultimate episode, to be incredible set piece.
Carnage.
Absolute
carnage.
Brilliant writing again. Characters get these moments. We say farewell to some of the best characters in the show, and the farewell is a good farewell. I loved it, Jack. It's a strong thumbs up, and I'll never forget this episode. I'll never forget the burning of Dresden.
The roof.
I mean, the Sack of King's Landing.
The bombing of Dresden.
Yeah.
Let's not joke about that.
No, it's not
the sacking of Jerusalem, and
yes.
Yeah, it's just it's so good. It's the historical connotations as well that it pops in there. It's beautiful. The lighting, the cinematography, the character work. There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay,
anyway,
theories.
Theories. Let's do a theory segment.
Yes.
First of all, Jack, I want to ask you, who do you think is going to end up on the Iron Throne?
Tyrion.
Oh, you're on Tyrion now. So last week,
Still.
I'm going to hold you to this. You said you think Jon is going to get on it, but you want Tyrion to be on there. Is that what you mean?
Surely Jon's too obvious at this point. Surely. I'd be so bored if Jon got on it, would you not?
I would also, but I think that's what it's all been leading up to.
I think it is mixed. I'd say... Yeah, okay, I'm going to say Jon, I think, but Tyrion and Sansa still. Same as last week. I don't think anything's changed. Just more if I don't want Dany on it.
If she gets it, that'll be insult to injury, wouldn't it? You know, she's gone mad and she gets it. Bloody hell. I think that'd be a good move, to be honest, if they put her on. Yeah. I won't be disappointed. I will be disappointed because it's not the character I wanted on there, but it will be the character it'll be a sort of decision that they've made that's Game of Thrones. Yeah, that'll be a...
Perhaps, theory time I've just come up with. Brienne kills Daenerys.
And ends up on the Iron Throne. Do you know what? Brienne of Tarth, she deserves it. She's been through so much.
Stabs her through the back, like Jaime did Aerys.
Jack.
And she's the Queen Slayer.
Yeah.
Come on,
Do you know what?
And she serves Sansa.
Yeah.
That's prime. That's perfect.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
If Dan and David ever listen to this, they'll be scribbling away for the remake.
I'm sure they're part of the 17 views on this episode.
Jack, I've got to be honest with you. They probably are. You know, who else is it going to be? If not me and my mum.
I mean, why would the show be as good as it was if they were?
I don't know.
So
that would be amazing. What you just said.
That's my theory.
Okay,
that's my hot take.
That's your theory. You think you want Tyrion to end up on the throne, and you think he still will.
That's what.
You think he will?
Yeah. How about yourself?
I think it will be Jon. I said it last week. I think it will be because he really doesn't want it. The show has always taken its time out to show you people who want power, and then show you what's wrong with these people who are desperate for power.
Versus people who don't.
Who don't, and people who don't always get the good treatment, like Ned Stark.
Tommen and Joffrey.
Tom and
is a huge example.
yeah, and Micella, she was an innocent who was killed,
Yes.
and we didn't really see that much of her, but she was a powerful figure, especially in the books. She has a lot of This is about the books. Anyway, so I think it would be John. I do agree with you though. It would be a bit like, oh, that's what everyone sort of wants now. So
A letdown. I think it's safe to say that would be a huge letdown.
But again, it goes back to the problem I have with the show, that they are trying to just please people. Why give a shit about what we think is a letdown or not? Like, put John on if it works. That's why they failed a few times in this season, because they've obviously had these things planned for a long time, and because they don't work for the viewers, and because it doesn't really make sense, or because it won't get the reaction that people want, they've just changed it. But people see through that. So if it looks like it's going to be John, which I think it does, and then all of a sudden they go, oh yes, Sansa. I see. For example, I don't think, unless they nail it next episode, I don't think Sansa deserves to sit on the throne. Like, she's done very little.
I think you could have Tyrion and Sansa as king and queen.
Tyrion, yes.
That's fair enough.
Not Sansa.
No, with Sansa as his queen, like, why not? Like, I think that works, because I think she's been through enough that she deserves it.
But
and
it's
if you
not
want
about
to
that. It's
set
not
it
about
off
endurance. If it was about
It
endurance,
isn't, but
I'd
it
be on
isn't.
the Iron
If you want to
Throne.
set it off in a way as the Seven Kingdoms, or now what's left of them, Seven Kingdoms now are in a good stead to be ruled, because I think we can both agree that Sansa would be a good ruler.
Oh, she would, and she's.
So I
It
think
does
that'd
look
be quite a nice thing.
actually
Is leave it open,
likely,
not necessarily a finality to it.
Okay.
I think that'd be nice.
Well, we'll see. We'll see in less than 4 days.
Won't we
just? I'm gonna watch it when it comes out, I think.
Lord.
Even though I got work the next day, but it's gonna be brilliant. Okay, another theory for you. Who do you think is gonna kill Drogon, or do you think he's gonna survive?
I think we mentioned this. John,
Yeah.
like a boss battle, like outside Windhelm. In the first hour of Skyrim,
When they just
like the
land.
Dovahkiin.
Yeah.
John the Dovahkiin. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. No, I don't think he's gonna die. He's gotta die.
He's got to,
you might
right?
kill him.
The Age of Dragons
Maybe.
has to end, otherwise. Because if Daenerys dies, okay. Here's a theory for you. I think we didn't see Jaime kill Cersei, so I think Jon will be the one to kill Daenerys. Daenerys will die. Drogon will go mad, kill Jon. Drogon will be killed by Yara, because we haven't seen her in a while.
That would be shite.
And then Tyrion will end up on the
That would be
throne.
so bad.
Imagine if that happens though.
Arya? No, why not Arya? May as well. She's there.
Okay, if Arya has a job to do on this pale horse of death, it's got to be someone big. Either Grey Worm, Daenerys, or Drogon. That's my theory for Arya. She's going to kill one of those three.
I think Grey Worm might kill someone quite significant.
The way he looked at Jon when Jon wasn't joining in, whew,
Yeah.
there's definitely going to be a
It's just
civil
like,
war.
why-
They've
That
set
is
it up
fun,
well.
what you're
They've
doing,
set up
yeah.
the Dany versus Jon sort of premise quite well. Like, they've had a lot.
They
And
have.
the sides have been quite clearly picked. Davos, do you think Davos will survive this season?
Has to.
He has
He's got
to.
no reason to
He's
die.
all right,
What's the reason?
Davos for Iron Throne 2019 is what I'm going to say.
I wouldn't mind.
Davos is I think he's my third favourite character after Jaime, who comes after Jon.
And Euron, obviously.
If you say his word, if you say his name again, I will be forced to pin you to a rock with a sword.
We will delete this recording.
No, I'm just
we
going to
mention
edit it
this
out
movie.
because I'm in charge of
It's like
editing.
Voldemort.
I'm just going to edit
It's like
every single time
Voldemort.
you said Euron. I'm just going to bleep it.
Put a
He's
little
cuss.
jingle in there.
He's a cuss.
Okay, final shot.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is the last one we're going to do before the final episode. Final shot, prediction. Tell me what you think it's going to be.
Of the episode. Of
The
this.
final shot ever of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
What do you think?
It will be a shot of whoever's on the Iron Throne. I think it'll be Jon.
Yeah.
Panning slowly backwards. Can you pan backwards? Yeah, you can. Zooming
Of
out,
course you can pan back. It's just like a gradual.
showing
zoom.
who's left. Because I thought it would be very similar to the Winds of Winter when we heard the. I think the song is called "The Winds of Winter," with the Game of Thrones theme tune being played in a very
The
slow
tension.
way, with the snow falling, the first snow falling on Jaime's hand when he's riding off at the end of season 7, and it goes to not every single, but it goes to a lot of different cities and
the
castles,
major
players and major places, and it shows snow falling. I think either the throne room, whoever's on it, zooming out who's left, or something similar to that, showing us who's where. If they have the right music for it, it'll look amazing.
Maybe like the end of Endgame, you know, where it's that shot and Endgame spoilers, mute this. If you don't want to know.
Oh, by the way, this episode is spoiler heavy. Don't listen to this podcast unless you've seen the episode.
It's a bit late now. But, at the funeral, you know which one I mean.
I do know.
And it shows everyone, and it's even got people in there you've not seen for ages. Nick Fury, the kid from Iron Man 3. That's beautiful. Obviously, it's not an Endgame review, but maybe someone like Robin Aaron. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've not seen him for ages.
Yes.
Like, put Prince of Dawn, as I said, Robin Aaron, Prince of Dawn.
Make him fly!
Through the moon door. Bronn. Do you know what I mean? Like,
calling in his high garden tax, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for God's sake, I forgot about Bronn.
There's
too much
John.
to cover.
That's the thing. That's why, because we were saying last week about how, you know, we're praying that episode was the bad one that has to take the fall and being rushed, and they're doing all this rush things, setting up for these brilliant 2 episodes, which are going to be amazing. And so far, it's looking good. You know, we've had a really good one. But just the comparison between the quality of the last one and this, that's sort of what my faith in Game of Thrones was shook. I didn't lose faith, but yeah, night and day. It's fire and ice, if you will.
Fire
and blood. Madness, man.
Okay.
What do you think? Sorry, about the final shot.
Final shot. I think it will be a dragon egg.
Oh, I like that actually.
I think it'll be. I don't know where. I don't know where it'd be. Maybe the throne room, or just a little egg sat on the throne.
Not to end the podcast with a note about the books, but in the books, Euron had a dragon egg, and he paid a wizard to try and hatch the egg. The wizard said, "If you give me a year and as much gold as you have, I can hatch the egg for you." But because Euron in the books is like really dark and he's prone to these like dark moods, he killed the wizard and threw the egg into the sea. So, we'll get a shot of the egg washed up on the beach. I think that would be amazing. And no one will get it unless they've read the books, and it'll be a callback to the Drew fans.
Maybe Essos.
Yeah. Or just a shot. It'll end with just Dario with his feet up, like the end of not the end, but the spoilers. The end credit scene for Ant-Man and the Wasp, mute now, where it's just Anti playing the drums, and it's like really like. It's a really poorly timed joke because we've just seen Jon Snow die, or Aegon Targaryen die, and there's now just Dario with his feet up drinking wine.
Dario with a cocktail.
Or you know, he's just balls deep in someone. I think it'd be brilliant. But
and that's the final shot of Game of Thrones is Dario's smooth bum.
Just the.
I think.
Yeah, his rear.
Maybe Ilario. Just with the
master of Pentos.
Ilario and Pentos, yeah, with a dragon egg. I think the dragon egg's a good idea. I don't know how you'd do it.
No, well, possibly. I don't really see the point. It would have to be a dragon egg. So, say if Daenerys does win and she's a Mad Queen on the throne, it would make sense if the show ends with a dragon egg in the hands of, say, Sansa, like as an ice dragon underneath Winterfell, something like that. I know we're meant to be ending the segment and the podcast, but one last theory. Bloody hell, I forgot what I was going to ask you, Jack. I forgot him. I'll have to ask you next episode. Alright.
Are you sure you forgot?
I've completely forgotten. It wiped my mind. I was so excited about it. It wiped my mind. Shit.
Alright. Okay, well, it's been fun. I think we've not covered anywhere near enough as we should have done, because we'd be here for hours.
We get excited.
We've been going nearly an hour and a half, so I think it's time to wrap up.
It's time to kill.
Next week is it. It's the last ever episode of Game of Thrones.
It's very sad.
We will be on this podcast crying our eyes out this time next week.
Depending on our thoughts on the ending, it will be tears of joy or tears of sadness. So we'll, I guess you'll know as well. I'm hoping you're watching the show alongside listening to this podcast. Otherwise,
I mean, you got to be a regular. You got to be a regular by now. If you've sat through this much, you have to be a regular. So,
all right.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So
that'll do it.
Stay tuned. I'm very glad you listened to this entire podcast. If anyone's still here, And yeah, thank you. All right. In the wise words of Jaime Lannister, nothing else matters. I'll see you at the season finale.
Goodbye, sweet prince.
Goodbye, sweet prince.
Nice one. Are we done? Nice. Sure. Right. Okay. Now, do I just press the square button to stop recording?
Square, yeah.